Each one of these little bends requires muscle power, so your back doesn't disintegrate in terms of posture and position. So it's a waste of energy. Bienvenue, hello and welcome everybody. Today we are looking at Vincent from Toulouse, France. Vincent, I believe you're mostly a strength-based athlete. I don't know if you're actually a rower. This 200-meter piece may be the one where you have in your description a 120 split. Then I think you have a 500-meter easy break, and then another 500 at a split of 135. So these are quite decent numbers. This is actually quite fast. However, the way you row is suitable for 200, but it's not suitable for 500, and you want to get some technique feedback. The main problem is that you pause at the catch. If you just watch the rowing, you see there's quite a bit of a pause at the catch because you throw your upper body weight forward and you basically bounce around with your upper body and your entire body weight. The second problem is that you mostly use your legs and you basically crush your back. So what you do is you just, I don't want to call it a rape the back, but it's got to be something quite similar. You don't really take care of what your back can handle. You just work very hard with your legs, but the upper body is certainly not in a position where it would naturally be able to cope with all the forces. Why say so? If you have a lower back that looks straight but is not, and an upper back which is super hunched, and you do a 200-meter sprint, this is not a natural position to transfer a lot of sprint load. If you did a deadlift, you would never have a position like this. Rowing on an erg like this is doing a deadlift. It's nothing else. So you should have a position that is pretty similar to a deadlift. Rowing on this type of linear drive erg, which doesn't work like your real boat, you may run the risk of getting a back injury. Because what do you think happens right now to your back when you run full load? I mean, all the force. Imagine I just flip the picture. If you flip the picture, look at the back, it's suffering. And you need to be careful if you do sprints like these about your back position. You know, a lot of people say rowing is healthy for your back. I'd be careful. Rowing is healthy as long as we talk about the true rowing motion. You know, especially sculling. This is why sculling is becoming so popular in the US right now. Not just because of COVID and everybody goes out in singles. Generally because people understand that sculling is a healthy motion. And everybody can take out a single. And there are age categories, I think 89 average now at the World Masters Rowing Regattas. There's a reason. But these ergs, they don't have the true rowing motion. It's basically deadlift all the time. So you have to protect your back in a very similar way. The back is not able to keep that position for longer than a couple of minutes. So all these workouts, and I used to do these as well, and I still have back pain today, they are not really healthy. So my advice generally, if you spend time on these linear drive ergs, try to get off the erg every 20 to 30 minutes and do something else. My team, all the athletes I write training plans for, by the way, if you want to join, here's the link. They always have something different every 20 to 30 minutes if they are on a linear drive erg. So they would either do a run, they would do a stretch, they would do the bike. I like the indoor bike because you can still do easy stuff, but you give the back a break. So just an advice on the side here. Two things, how to avoid back injury. First of all, stabilize the back. Don't just use your back muscles to hold over the power. You do have two main muscle chains involved here. So the first one is, of course, the posterior chain, which is basically the hip extension chain. And let me draw the entire line here. So it's the hamstrings, it's the glutes, it's the lower back, it's the upper back, all the way up here. Then we have the anterior chain, which is the opposite, which is everything in the front. Realistically speaking, you have a bit of shins here, but mostly is the quads, it's the abdominal muscles, chest. These two are antagonists. You have to stabilize the back with the anterior chain as well, which means catch in a way where you think about the abdominal muscle groups. We just talked about this last Saturday at the live indoor rowing session. I hold this every week. So you can join in, and I basically do live coaching. You have your phone or your laptop, it's on Zoom, I see you row, I give you live feedback, improve your technique. If you do this all winter, you will be better in spring. We talked about how you do the catch where you think about the abdominal muscles, because this keeps you from pivoting too early. And now I come to talk about the technique part besides the health protection part. And Vincent, what you need to do is hold out a little longer and then pivot with momentum. So the solution is not to have a long continuous upper body swing, but the solution is to have a leg drive, hold the upper body, and then have a pivot that happens at a specific point of time to add more momentum when the flywheel is already traveling quite quickly. What this does is it allows you to use your upper body weight when your legs run out of leg drive motion capacity. Sounds complicated, it's very simple. Just before the legs are extended, you want to use your upper body swing very effectively and in a concentrated manner. So at that point of the drive, you still should have about the same forward lean that you had at the catch. Now that's maybe a bit exaggerated here, but yeah, you know what I mean. And if you then add the upper body motion along with the power that comes from the legs, this creates quite a bit of momentum at a point of time where the flywheel is likely to travel faster than you can add more force. In other ways, the air fin is likely to travel away from you. It's like the boat traveling away from you. It's like pushing a child on a swing. The swing will eventually travel away from you. If you, however, use your upper body swing through the entire drive, what you actually do, there's no momentum you can add. And this costs you speed. Not over 200. I don't think there's a lot of time difference if you do this right or not right over 150, 200, maybe 250 meters. But I see you puffing and pumping already the last 50 meters. So you definitely are not endurance trained. Or in other words, your raw strength is so high that you can waste yourself within 150 meters. So you need to rely on technique more. So everything that is longer than 200 meters, you need to use your upper body weight. And a lot of us think that, okay, I just have to use my upper body power. No, primarily, if you keep the upper body in a forward lean position like it is here, your upper body has a lot of weight. Use it. If you carry it around all the time anyway, why not take advantage of it? And these ergs, they thrive, the speed thrives upon upper body weight. The heavier you are and the stronger you are, the faster you're going to be. You know, this is why lighties are mostly disadvantaged on ergs. If you don't have a lot of weight to use against a static mass, of course you are at a disadvantage. You know, this is why lightweights are a lot slower on ergs compared to heavyweights than they actually are in the boat. If you look at the world best times, lightweight and heavyweight rowing, and compare the open weight class and the lightweight class, you see that there's barely any difference between the times. It's crazy, especially about Olympics. So Olympic boat class lightweight men's double is a 6:05. South Africans, I think, they may have been already improved that time. And the same year, 2015 in Amsterdam, Sinkovich brothers put in a 5:59. 6 second difference over a 2K. That's 1.5 seconds on a 500. If you look at the single scull times, lightweight men's single, which is not an Olympic boat class, by the way, so not as heavily contested, I think it's a 6:42, 6:41. The fastest heavy open weight single scull time is a 6:30, so roughly 10-second difference. On the erg, we're talking about, I think, a 5:59, 5:57, 6:01 world best time on the erg. And what's it, open weight? 30, sub 5:30, I don't even know that time. There's a reason why there's such a huge time cap, and we're talking about 2K. If we talk about 200 meter sprints, as a lightweight, forget it. You need at least 10 to 15 more kilos. This is about strength and weight. It's not so much about how endurance capable you are. Good, back to the topic, Vincent. What you need to do is use your upper body at a certain point of time and stabilize it better. In 2 words said. First of all, the lean back, I don't even want to say don't lean back so much, because with 200, it does make sense. These ergs don't care about your technique. They only care about weight and strength. It really is that way. Over 2,000, I'd be careful, because everything you lean back, you got to go forward, and this starts to become a beach body workout for your abs. So it mostly targets here your abs every time you have to go forward. So, also the hip flexor chain is just, the anterior chain is heavily in demand here, although it's not necessary. For a 2K or a 1K, that lean back is too much. It's not effective anymore. As we move forward and progress, I recommend before you start to bend your knees and break your knees to slide forward here, make sure you stabilize that back. And the way you sit on that seat is a bit like a low rider. So more relaxed, laid back, and your hip is tilted the wrong way. When you go forward, make sure you actively strive forward. You go forward, open the rib cage. So you want to sit more on the front part of the seat. You don't want to hang over the front edge. You want to sit more on the front part of the seat. The main problem is that you never really prepare the hip, but the hip is the main transfer element. So therefore, there's always a little bend here in the lower back. And this bend you never get really rid of. You don't. The way you compensate it, and you feel that I should have more lean back, is just before you are at the catch, you excessively lean forward, but only with the upper part of the trunk. This is why you're straight. Let's just go back a couple of frames. See this? Your upper body here is actually not bent a lot. But now that we move forward, this bend becomes much more, because you need to compensate the lack of flexibility you have here. And this part here cannot be in a forward lean angle, because your hip tilts in the wrong way. And it's pretty dark, but what I can see here on my large screen is that your center of gravity on your seat, if this is your seat here, your center of gravity is about here, and it should be here. This is the difference. You should load more this part of the seat than the rear part of the seat, and this is a nice indicator whether or not you're actually tilting your hip the right way. And if you sit taller, more stable, but still keep loose and relaxed shoulders, you are then able to have a drive where you can use your legs without having to use a lot of power in your back. Because right now, the force that travels in your hands to the hip and legs actually really travels this way. You see a lot of bends. And each one of these little bends requires muscle power, so your back doesn't disintegrate in terms of posture and position. So it's a waste of energy. Position your back in a way like a deadlift, where you can transfer force in a pretty natural way, not as round as it is here. And it's not just that this will definitely cause an overload of the little muscles around your spine to protect your spine from injury. Definitely. First, the muscles give in, and then the spine gives in. The second thing is, it's just a waste of energy during the drive. It may not make a huge difference over 150 to 200 meters, except for the injury part. You're rowing with a drag of 140, 140. And I saw one of your posts in a group, in the indoor rowing group, where you had a drag of 170. Of course, but your back will be quite mad at you. I recommend, if you are a fitness rower and you do anything that is longer than 5 minutes or 4 minutes, and your back is not ultra strong, I would never exceed a drag factor of 125. You can get enough watts out of that if we talk about 1K, 2K. And if you are a pro athlete and your back is really strong, your posture is good, and your technique is fine, then you can go for a 130, 135 max. But this back is not prepared. And why I say this, your back may be strong, Vincent, but the strength proportion and the endurance strength proportion back to quads and legs, this is not given. You're not ready. So either you're more careful with your leg drive, or you are strong in your back. These are the two options you have. All right. Ladies and gents, I hope this was helpful. Vincent, I hope this is something you can work with. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, there are so many things you could talk about, and rightfully you could say, yeah, you should improve that, you should change that. There are many, many things. These are the two main things I wanted to focus on. All right. Join us on Facebook in the rowing group. Go to rmtraining.com to check out the newsletter. So register for the newsletter. I'm going to send out rowing camp dates and updates about the things we do in the next couple of days and weeks. And this way you don't miss the new camp dates for 2021. All right. I wish you all the best. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. If you think this video was helpful, share, like, subscribe, thumbs up. Good day. Bye-bye.